Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. If you haven't seen, our YouTube channel has been rebranded to analogstickgaming.com now, and my name is Jordan. I am one of the co-owners of Analog Stick Gaming, but of course, to my right, as always, is the founder himself, Jeff Young. How are you, Jeff?
Oh, doing pretty decent. Not too bad. Long weekend, so day off with pay, so I'll take it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's useful because we missed our recording day last week because I was unwell and then I had a family emergency on the weekend, which is normally like our backup time for that week. So it's kind of worked
Yeah.
out quite well that we can actually record today. We are recording this on a Monday, but you're not going to see it till a day or two later because we're going to talk about some things that the embargo is not actually up for yet at some point. But we will also, of course, go through all of the latest news and that sort of thing. But before that, I do want to give a quick little update. As I said, our YouTube channel is now rebranded. If you've been kind of tuning in recently, you would have seen that I did a couple of streams. And there's also going to be other things that we do, like we're looking at maybe kind of converting some of our written reviews into video reviews when we're able to do that. I actually have a VO person now, and it, so there's some interesting things we can do, and then of course, now that we have this new way of doing things, we will be able to do some live stream reactions and that kind of thing, like we did for the Game Awards last year.
Yep.
And possibly, depending on Jeff's work schedule, we might even be able to react to the Xbox showcase this year because that's actually at a decent time for me. So we might be
Yeah.
able to work that if Jeff is available at that time. But obviously, with us being
Yeah, I'll
in
have to check
different
my
parts of
schedule
the
and stuff.
world,
So.
it's tough. But yeah, Jeff, before we get to video games, is there anything else we'd like to talk about?
Um, I don't know too much, like, because we've got, even like with wrestling and stuff, we've got Saturday Night Main Event coming up next
Yes.
Saturday, which seems to have a better card than Backlash did.
I know, that's surprising, isn't it? It's just like,
Yeah, it is still kind of dumb that R-Truth isn't getting a title shot against
yeah, I
John
know.
Cena, like it's
Yeah.
non-title.
However, there is
Um,
part of me that wonders, is that because they're actually going to have R-Truth win? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it would be like an absolute dream for him to beat John Cena because like that John Cena is the reason he got into wrestling, like it's his childhood hero.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but
That's
yeah,
actually,
it's
that he's actually older than, which is great.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's not a bad card really. And like we got to see Alexa Bliss come back and she's had
Yes.
what, two matches now or one match? I can't remember. Oh yeah, she had a tag team
Yeah.
match, and then she came back and won the Money in the Bank qualifier, which is
Yes, because
great.
we've
And I
got
love the
people
one.
qualifying for that now.
Yeah, I like the tweet that went kind of viral. It's like, who let the old lady into the ring, and yet she was the youngest person in that match.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I saw you respond to that. And
yeah.
then I saw another
No,
one where people were talking about why the attendance at WrestleMania was different on both nights, even though it was in the same
yeah,
place.
because
And
like
it's like,
WWE like publicly stated, they're like there were seats that were like originally thought to be bad for production that they basically just like opened up.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's the thing
So
is like that information was out there.
yeah, definitely. But it has been a bit of a crazy week in the world of gaming. So I guess we should get straight to it, really. I want to start with some very positive news, which is something we kind of speculated on last time around. Um, we were sort of talking about what the people from Giant Bomb might end up doing, and maybe turning independent and doing their own thing. But for
Mhm.
people who haven't been in the loop, Jeff, what have they actually done?
Yeah, so last week I ranted about how fandom was pretty much suffocating what Giant Bomb was, and they were wanted to, probably use it as a trend chaser and stuff like that. And prominent people from Giant Bomb left, like Jeff Grubb left, Dan Reichert left, like basically all the big people left. And I think fandom was like, well, I don't think we have anything here really if all those people are leaving. So they went quiet for a little while. There was nothing in regards to anything regarding Giant Bomb for quite a while. There were no streams. Any podcasts that they had were pre-recorded. And then all of a sudden, at the Giant Bomb panel, the PAX panel, they announced something. And so all the news today comes from VGC. Giant Bomb has been sold by Fandom and will continue independently. Announced during the group's PAX East panel, the site has been sold by Fandom to longtime staffers Jeff Grubb and Jeff Bacalar. Joining the co-owners of Giant Bomb will also be Dan Reichert, Jan Ochoa, and during a live phone call on the panel, they asked Mike Minotti if he would like to be a co-owner. To which Mike Minotti pretty much replied, almost shocked and in tears, "Yeah, I would absolutely love that." It was one of the most, I think, heartwarming things I think I've ever seen. Like he was just shocked
Yeah, yeah.
that not only did they buy Giant Bomb, but that he was asked to be a co-owner. Um, so that's been great, and seeing them come back. Giant Bomb is now owned by the people who make Giant Bomb, and it would not have been possible without the speedy efforts of fandom and our mutual agreement on what's best for fans and creators, said Jeff Grubb and Jeff Bacalar in a joint statement. The future of Giant Bomb is now in the hands of our supporting community, who've always had our backs no matter what. We have a lot more to say about what this looks like soon, but for now, everyone can trust that all the support we receive goes directly to this team. Giant Bomb will now focus on subscriptions, which have been raised from $5 to $10, as that money now goes to us, according to Jeff Grubb. There's more in the story, so definitely check it out. So basically, what it is that they are going back to kind of what Giant Bomb was like about 2 years ago, roughly, where they were doing quick looks all the time because fandom apparently didn't like them or something like that, so they stopped doing them. So there's been quick looks like crazy coming out. Mike Minotti recorded his first one with the Capcom collection that just came out. And they're doing a lot of really neat things. Like they had fans who were like, "Hey, we want to pay more than the $10." So they
Yes.
opened up a Ko-fi account, and you can go directly to that. I don't have the link right now, but you can definitely Google it if you want to donate more to Giant Bomb. And so basically, what it is the top donator now. They came to this during one of their podcasts. The top donator of the month will send them a picture that they need to print out and get framed, and it'll be in the back of their stuff. And as long as it's not offensive or anything like that, they'll post it there. So that was kind of funny because they were like, "Oh, blah blah blah's in the lead. Oh, this person's in the lead. Oh no, this guy's in the lead now." So that was pretty fun, and they'll make a fortune off that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, like once my financial situation kind of recovers from buying a Switch 2 and having to sell my kidney for it, I'll probably I'll be looking to subscribe and support Giant Bomb.
Yes,
While I
definitely.
try and
And
track down another kidney.
I'm really glad that all this has happened, and I think that it's kind of the best situation for everybody. It allows them to kind of concentrate, as they've said, on the community itself and do what the community wants. And that is the best thing about independent outlets, right? Because they're fully funded independently, very often now through things like Patreon and those sort of situations.
Yeah.
It allows these outlets to do things that they would not be able to do under a traditional kind of business ownership model. So
Yeah, and it also changes like how certain of some of their shows will go. So like
yeah.
um Flight Club, which is one of the most original things that coming out of any outfit like theirs. Like no one else is
Mhm.
doing anything like this. Blight Club is basically where one person will have to play a bad game that has been chosen by the other two, and these are generally games that are like the lowest on Metacritic or almost broken. Things like Bubsy 3D, Batman Dark
Yes.
Tomorrow, Daikatana, things like that. Superman 64. Dan had to play that, but they don't just play those games; they play them in costume. So Mike Minotti had to dress up as Quan Chi from Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero.
Oh my
He also
god.
had to dress up as RoboCop from the RoboCop Xbox game. And so with this new thing where they have to now pay for their own outfits, they're not company funded. They're like, oh, these outfits are about to get a whole lot shittier. But someone did point out that if they just do an Amazon wish list,
Yeah.
that stuff will be bought anyways by the fans
Yeah.
for the
True.
show. So there's ways that they're able to kind of finance these endeavors that normally they would have to request a fandom going, hey, we need
Absolutely.
$150 for
Yeah.
this outfit.
And I want to actually carry on this kind of independent gaming news thing for now, but moving away from Giant Bomb, there is actually a piece of news I wanted to share, but hopefully Jeff can find it as I'm talking about it. And if you're familiar with independent gaming outlets, you may have heard of Xbox Era, and they recently released. It started on Kickstarter, but they recently released a card game called Console Wars, and it's now
Mm.
available on Amazon in many regions. They just launched it on Amazon last week. I got it a bit earlier because I was a Kickstarter backer, but this game is hilarious. Like it basically puts a spin on well-known IPs using a same sort of logo font and that kind of thing. And the aim of the game essentially is to to make the strongest platform with the cards that you have to play, and you kind of trade things with each other and do different things.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, and the reason I bring it up is because this is a unique bet from an independent gaming site of trying to do something like this, which is sort of playing on an industry trope of the console wars and then using it to try and help fund basically everything that they're doing. I think is really clever. So if
Mm.
you're into card games and you like gaming, I'd recommend giving Console Wars a little look. I will link it in the description below, just so you can read a bit more about it
It'd be
because
neat
they
if they could
do.
get a video game version of that made.
Yes, yeah, it's something that their fans and their audience have definitely requested. I think at the moment they're kind of waiting to see how the physical version of the game does, and then if it does well enough and they can bring in the funds, I think that a video game version is something that they would definitely look at. So
Hmm.
so yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I just wanted to share that because this is I don't know if you're aware, Jeff, but this has been a crazy time for gaming outlets in the last few years. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's very important that we support as many independent outlets that we can. It's why the majority of our news that we share is sourced from completely independent outlets. We normally go to VGC. Those guys are brilliant, and I saw. Speaking of VGC, actually, I saw Chris Scullion tweet out the other day that people need to start clicking on the articles basically because they share them on Twitter or on different social media platforms. And
Yeah.
what happens is in the comments of that share, someone goes, "Oh, this is what it is, saved you a click." But by you then not clicking on it, you're actually harming their website and their ability to do
Yeah,
that job for you.
I always reply with those like tweets going like, um, like for every like that this save a click one gets, I'll visit the article.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, so if you want me to keep clicking on the article, just keep liking their tweet, go for it.
Yeah, so yeah, that's just something to think about as well. But we do, of
Yeah, like I
course.
don't go to like IGN really for news because you'll click on news and it'll be like
Oh
new
god.
sunglasses from Doom now available. I'm like,
Yeah,
who
they have
fucking
basically
cares?
every single bit of news, right? They do
Oh, like
everything.
their news is just stupid. They'll be like, set designer from Minecraft movie announces their obsession with donkeys, and I'm like, who cares?
Yeah, like that's not
Like
actually a
it's
bit
just
of
so
news.
unrelated bullshit.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But speaking of news, actually, I guess we might as well say that we're going to try and have more regular news on the website going forward. We obviously always have quite a lot of news anyway, but
Yeah,
it's
I just get swamped with games, so like half the
yeah,
time I don't even have time to like post much.
yeah, definitely. But
Um,
we're gonna be trying to be a bit more regular with our news postings, and hopefully, right now I can't tell you what it is, but I have been invited to a preview event, so we may have another preview coming up as well. I've
are you
done
getting
I've done one
scanned
in the
for Death
past.
Stranding 3? Is that what's going on?
So yes, I've been invited to a preview event, which as long as I can actually get to, I'm trying to figure out logistics at the moment. I'll be previewing a game, which is cool, and I think Jeff's gonna. We've been talking about maybe doing a few opinion pieces here and there, and we're also potentially allowing one of our buddies to write a few reviews for us, right, Jeff? Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, yeah, I've got a friend at my main job, basically, that Kelvin, who is like, he loves survival games. Like things like Sons of the Forest and those types of games and stuff like that. Basically, where it's all like having to feed yourself and stuff like that. So, no, I'm gonna kind of see kind of how he is good for reviewing stuff because he's never done that kind of stuff before. And then if that's the case, then we can
Yeah,
have a lot of those games out there because
definitely.
I invited him to do some co-op on Roadcraft because it's got crossplay and we got codes for it. But apparently the PC to Xbox crossplay isn't available until like today or tomorrow.
Oh wow,
Um, so he wasn't able to
that's a
play it. And I'm
shame.
like, well, worst case scenario, you got a copy of the game,
Yeah,
and we can
yeah,
play some co-op later.
yes,
But we'll see.
yeah. We'll see. I mean, we're definitely because one thing I've found recently, and I think Jeff has experienced the same thing. We'll talk more about it later, but because there are so many games, we are literally swamped at the moment, and for a
Oh
two-person
yeah, I've got
team,
7 games I'm reviewing all within this week.
yeah, it's crazy. Like and don't get me wrong, we are more than grateful for everything that we get offered and get codes for, and there's many things. Some of them we can talk about later on, and that's why
Yeah,
we
and
always
every
shout
single one of
out.
those 7 are code provided. This isn't
Yeah,
just me like playing something off Game Pass and be like, oh, I need to review this.
yeah, and that is, and when we're provided a code as well, we take it very seriously. Of we now have an obligation to provide these people with at least some form of content for that code. And that's why sometimes we'll do reviews in the podcast, but maybe they don't get written up till later. Or, that's why I'm always like I'm going to be doing some more streaming and stuff as well, because as you will see, I'll talk about it now just because we're on the subject, but sometimes Jeff will review a game that I haven't been able to review, right? Like Expedition 33. But I want to go and experience it, and I want to share some of that experience with you people. And so the first 2 sessions of me playing Expedition 33 are up on the YouTube channel right now, and I streamed it. And I streamed like 6 hours of this game over 2 days or something, which, considering that streaming isn't our focus, that was, and we did get some interaction there. So anything you can do to help us, again, we are not out here asking for your money. We do not want your money, really. We just want your engagement and hope that you enjoy what we can provide to you. like
Yeah,
all
like
other
honestly,
independent sites.
subscribing, subscribing, and just like reading, like going onto the website. That's all you got to do. Like
Yeah.
you don't need like any financial support because like the more interactions you get, the more coverage that we can kind of provide. You
Yes.
know, companies like Capcom will be like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, we'll give you codes, Bandai Namco, so on and so forth. Basically, in terms of like providing access, because like right now, like according to like website trackers, we're doing well.
Yeah, we are. And I
We're doing
do want to
extremely
say
well.
thank you to everybody if you're watching this podcast or even if you just go on the website. I want to say thank you because we have grown significantly in the last sort of 12 months. And for our tiny little two-person team, that is quite some, like, the amount that we've grown is quite shocking. And it's down to you people. And yes, of course, we're the ones that are doing the writing, and Jeff carries a lot of the heavy lifting when I didn't have a PC for 2 months there. But we do what we can do, and we've been added to Open Critic in the last year. Like, everything has actually gone quite well for us compared to some of the other outlets out there. But that's why I'm really passionate about you supporting them. If you like an outlet, try and support it in any way, even if you can't support it financially. Speaking of Xbox Era, one thing they say is if you cannot support them financially, consider making their website the homepage of your browser on your mobile or any device. Because then every time you open up your browser, even if you're not going to their site, they get a visit. They get a visit immediately just by you opening your browser every single time. And
Yeah.
that increase of their numbers is what allows them to work with more publishers and get more access to things.
Hmm.
And that is then what allows you to do more cool, interesting stuff. So please, carry on to support us, carry on supporting all the other independent outlets, especially right now because they've just become independent again. Make sure you're going and supporting Giant Bomb because we don't want to lose that team and those people.
Yeah, I'm gonna honestly like I'm gonna actually try and reach out and find an active email that Giant Bomb has,
Yeah.
just to see if we get even like one of the guys on the show because they've been doing a bunch of different
Yes.
podcasts and stuff like that talking about the independent status of Giant Bomb and stuff. So I would
Yeah.
absolutely love to have somebody on there.
Definitely. Definitely agree. Well, you reach out and let me know and we'll figure it out. But for now, there are lots more video game news stories that we have to get to. So where do you want to go next, Jeff?
I'll just go in order here. That way I'm not losing track of anything. All right. So, at a Sony State of Play quite a while ago, we saw that Hideo Kojima's next game was going to be coming to PlayStation. Well, not his next game, because that's the Xbox with that, what is it, OD or whatever. Hideo Kojima has said that one of his next games, Ficent, won't be released for 5 or 6 years. Kojima recently spoke to French magazine Le Film Francis. I don't know how to say that. What is it? Francois?
I have
I'm not
no
sure.
idea.
Uh, I don't know. I don't speak French, despite playing a whole lot of Expedition 33, during which he
And
was asked
also,
about the
hold on,
adaptation of.
hold on. Also, are
Yeah,
you not in Canada? Is there not lots of people in Canada that speak French?
I mean, yeah, but we're like Western Canada. Like most of the French speakers are pretty much like near kind of like Quebec and whatnot. Like there is
Eh,
still bilingual, but like I was not taught French. I didn't take French or anything like that.
fair.
Um,
Fair.
anything like that. So, um, yeah, I mean, it just reminds me of the joke. There was a I can't remember the movie or whatever, but it was like a John Candy film, whatever, where like the cop pulls over the guy from like speeding. It's like, hey, we're in Canada, like because it's a United States guy, like an
Yeah.
American, whatever, coming, whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
Canada sucks, blah blah blah, and it's like, hey, we're in Canada. Your sign on the truck has to be bilingual, so it has to be English and French. And he grabs like I think a spray bottle or a paint spray, whatever, and writes the French version of or something like that. And it's like, yeah, the fee is going to be like $14,000 Canadian. It's like, or like $20 American. Like it's really funny. I can't remember the name of the movie. I
Is
want to say
it?
Canadian Bacon.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, that might be the one. I I vaguely remember the I vaguely remember the scene. But yeah, you just
Yeah, yeah, it's Canadian
talking
Bacon.
about not being
I'm
able
pretty
to
sure.
speak French made me think of the fact that you're in Canada and some people might
Yeah,
assume that all Canadians could speak French, but of course that is not the case.
no. All right. Um, I'll restart here. Hideo Kojima has said that one of his next games, Facent, won't be released for 5 or 6 years. Kojima recently spoke to a French magazine in which he was asked about the adaptation of the Death Stranding film, which is currently in production at A24, and if he would like to work on more films in the future. When asked if he'd like to direct a film, Kojima replied, "Oh yes, I received many offers after leaving Konami." Kojima went on to explain that he has multiple video game projects in development and that he may consider making a film once Death Stranding 2 and Facent are complete. Besides Death Stranding 2, there is Facent in development that will take me another 5 or 6 years. Maybe after that, I could finally decide to tackle a film. So this is the thing that's really funny about this is all right. So it's 5 to 6 years away from releasing. Wasn't it like a
Yes.
year ago that he announced that thing on a state of play? Like
Yeah.
that was Sony just going like, "Hey, we're entering an agreement. All right, let's announce that immediately before anything has even been thought of."
Yeah.
Like that just feels like a
It
very
it I
desperate play.
think, to be fair, and I actually do think this is the case. I think there was some desperation for a couple of reasons. I think one, clearly we know now that Kojima was buying the Death Stranding IP from PlayStation, and he's done
Yeah.
that at this point. So therefore, although Death Stranding 2 is going to be some sort of exclusive on PlayStation, I don't think it will be a permanent exclusive.
No, I think we'll see it on Xbox in a year.
Yeah, and therefore they have less connection to Kojima through that IP, and that's clearly, somewhat bothersome. But then you also have the fact that Kojima has announced OD, which is fully funded by Microsoft and Xbox, and in another timeline probably would have been a full Xbox exclusive, but now in this day and age that we live, probably won't be. However, it will still have the brand association of this is an Xbox game, and obviously with that game with OD, there's a lot of speculation is that OD is essentially whatever Kojima's Silent Hill game was going to be, is what OD
Yeah.
has become. So I think that after that announcement and after seeing the reaction it got, people at PlayStation probably went, "Oh, we need to make sure that we have something from Kojima because
Yeah, and
otherwise,
he's already doing the PT thing. So the best thing that we can do would be like, hey, can you just make a tactical espionage game for us? You can do whatever the
yeah,
fuck you want.
that kind of feels like what happened, right? It kind of feels like they had a
Yeah,
conversation of, can you just make a game that is somewhat like Metal Gear?
and if it's 5 or 6 years away, like
Yeah,
when they announced that thing at the state of play, that was just absolute desperation
yeah,
to get something
yeah.
announced.
Yeah, and because it's like, and some people could argue, well, Xbox did announce that they were in a partnership with Kojima before they actually announced the game. Yes, they did, but I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, they announced that during like their Tokyo Game Show presentation or something. So
Yeah,
for where they announced it, it made sense because at that time they were trying to kind of interest developers within that space and all that sort of thing. And what better way to do that than work with one of the biggest developers in that space? So
no,
I'm not criticizing Sony for announcing the fact that they're working with Kojima. I just think the timing of it was interesting if they knew that this game, like, clearly there wasn't even a game being made. Do you know what I
no,
mean?
like we're probably still like a year away from even development starting on it.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that also makes me think, before we move on from Kojima, when does OD come out? Because we know Death Stranding is about a month away now, something like
I'd
that.
say like next year,
So
or even
okay,
like I would say the end. I would say sometime in 2026 or early 2027.
okay, interesting.
But
Because yeah,
oh,
because
did you hear that Kojima has a USB stick filled with game ideas so that after he dies, Kojima Productions can like
can carry
have
on.
like a head start on something.
Yeah, I did also see, and I didn't look into it too much, but speaking of Death Stranding 2 coming very soon, the previews were very strong for that, and I actually have a write up on Outer Haven where I sort of talk about some of the things I discovered from reading and watching various previews, because unfortunately I didn't get the opportunity to go and preview that game.
Yeah, and he was
I
kind
would
of
have loved
upset
to.
that they were all glowing. He was like, I kind of wanted them to be more divisive.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's where he thrives, right? It's like if you think about it, every game in Kojima's history, to some extent, for some reason, has been divisive. But
yeah, but it's so funny. Like you just see like a developer crying like, "Oh no, everybody loves my game."
yeah,
Boo-hoo.
yeah,
Like,
true.
like
But
some
what
other
I
developers, other teams, like Ubisoft would be like, "Oh, we want
oh
that
yeah,
so bad."
absolutely. But what I found so interesting is that in an interview he's done since that time, since those previews, he talked about how there is basically a story for Death Stranding 3, but he won't make the game. And I don't know what that means.
Yeah, like just be a producer.
Yeah,
He'll jump on being like, you know, turn the camera this way.
true. Or he'll just decide what soundtrack they have off of his Spotify list. Basically.
Yeah, just recommended comes up some band he hasn't heard of. Oh my God, these guys are amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm
Isn't
excited
kind
to
of
play
isn't
that,
kind of
but
funny responsible for some of the soundtrack for Death Stranding 2 because of that Roger giving him a CD of somebody?
oh, I don't know, was it? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, he gave them a CD of music that he thought he would like, and Kojima's like, "This band is amazing,"
Oh
and
wow,
then he
okay.
invited them to Kojima Productions.
Nice. But yeah, I love Kojima. I like there isn't one of his games that I haven't enjoyed. There are like I have problems with some of his games. There are definitely issues here and there. But yeah, the fact that Fizzant, whatever it ends up being,
Oh,
is
Police
five
Nuts.
years
Did you like
away.
Police Nuts?
I didn't actually play that. I didn't actually play that. That's a little bit before me, that one, Jeff. But yeah, loved it.
Nice.
Loved Kojima, and there is somebody that you mentioned just now when talking about Kojima. You mentioned the company Ubisoft, and I'd like to speak about them because they obviously released Assassin's Creed Shadows
Yeah.
earlier this year after somewhat significant delays. The game was delayed several times to make sure that they got it in the best position that it could be. And I don't know about you, Jeff, but I would argue that that decision to make those delays. Oh, there's banter. Hello, banter. That decision to make those delays probably paid off very well because I would argue that Assassin's Creed Shadows is one of the strongest, if not the strongest game in that entire franchise now. And yeah, it sounds like maybe the fact that they chose to do that and it panned out quite well has affected Ubisoft in some way because what are they doing going forward?
Yeah, Ubisoft has revealed its decision to delay major unannounced titles to give them additional development time. Sharing the news in its latest earnings release, the publisher pointed to its decision to delay Assassin's Creed Shadow late last year and its subsequent successful release and positive reception earlier this year. Although Ubisoft does not specify which games were getting delayed, its statement strongly suggests they are titles in the biggest franchises such as Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Ghost Recon, and Rainbow Six. After a thorough review of its pipeline that took place from October to December, the group decided to provide additional development time to some of its biggest productions in order to create the best conditions for success. This decision has already been beneficial to the quality of Assassin's Creed Shadows. As a consequence, each year will see significant growth on the back of strong content coming from the group's largest brands. Ubisoft also confirmed its earnings documents that the long-delayed Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake will release during its current business year, which ends in March. Um, yeah, so I mean, like that's the thing is like if you delay a game until it's ready, it's going to be probably much better received than a lot of like completely broken games that clearly needed development time. And Assassin's Creed Shadows, like I can't imagine what it was like around the time that they were originally going to release it. What is it, bud? I can't hear you.
I was saying, definitely agree with you. Like, I don't know what position Shadows was in when they kind of decided to delay it, but clearly that delay helped. And I do think they created a great game. And yeah, okay, there were a couple of little things the community have requested and stuff like that, but to their credit, they made updates really quickly. They are adding additional content to the game, and they've given a roadmap now for year one of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and they seem to be kind of addressing everything that people wanted them to change. And I think that something. I think the fact that Ubisoft got themselves into a situation where they arguably needed Assassin's Creed Shadows to be a success has made them realize that if they just take a bit more time, they actually still have the ability to make incredible games. And
Yeah,
this is, Shadows isn't the first one. Obviously they made Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown last year, and that was a brilliant game, but it got overshadowed because people just assumed, oh, it's Ubisoft, and there is baggage that comes with that because for the last
yeah,
decade they've kind of just churned out these games as quickly as possible, right? And it's
yeah. Assassin's Creed is looking like it's sold over 3 million copies, which is pretty low for a major franchise.
yeah,
Especially one that's across like all platforms pretty much. Like I'm pretty
yeah.
sure that this game's going to come to Switch too, and then gonna get a resurgence there as
Oh
well
yeah,
too.
yeah. And the game and the thing with Ubisoft games as well, to be fair, and I've seen this in conversation, I've seen this in people that I've spoken to and know personally. The problem with Ubisoft games in general now is that because of the baggage that comes, people now know that in most cases, a Ubisoft game within 3 to 6 months after release will be on a very heavy sell, and
Yeah, so they
for
usually wait.
and people will wait because, especially because we're in a year where there's so many video games. But I actually think, to be quite honest, Assassin's Creed Shadows right now would be one of my top four. Like, if we were to do our top games this year so far, Shadows would
Yeah,
be in my top four games, I think. And
yeah. I'd have to take a look at. I'd have to take a look at mine. I know it wouldn't be probably in my top four.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm pretty sure I know what your number one is, and I'm pretty sure that isn't gonna
yeah, because I
change.
mean, like games that would be kind of easily considered for my top four would be like Clair Obscura Expedition 33,
Mhm.
First Berserker Kazan.
See, I haven't played that.
What else we got? Even like Magic War and Wizards of the Witchery was really good.
Mm.
Um, Monster Hunter Wilds possibly. Um, what else do we got here? Just looking at a bunch of stuff. Yeah. No,
Kingdom
it's
Come
yeah. I'm not
Deliverance
too sure
2.
exactly. Sorry.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be my top and stuff because like I just didn't like the combat in that game.
Interesting, interesting. But my
But
point
yeah,
is, you're kind of absolutely illustrating my point. Is like, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a really strong game for the franchise, and I think Jeff, even in your review, you said something along the lines of it was your favorite game in the franchise, or something to that effect.
yeah, I think it is definitely one of my favorite ones. Like Odyssey, like with hindsight now and kind of looking back on like having time to kind of reflect on it, um, there I think it's my favorite in terms of like how it plays.
Yeah,
My only issue is like since it's all built on the assassin's target kind of things, as I wish the assassin targets were a little bit more like you can I wish they were a little bit more vague on certain things and stuff, tracking some stuff down. Because
yes,
like when you go and find one of your targets, they're just kind of sitting there waiting to be
yeah.
assassinated.
I mean, and they do this with some of the side targets in the game, but they'll kind of be moving around doing stuff. And I wish they did that with the main targets where it was like more dynamic and maybe
Yeah,
not
because dude
maybe
was
not
just
every
sitting in a
player finds
house.
them in the same place and stuff like that. I understand for big story moments you have to have them in a specific place sometimes. I get that.
Yeah,
But I don't
and that
think
was
you
my
need
only
that for
issue
every
I
single
think
one
with the
of them.
game that was substantial.
That's fair.
Was just
That's
like yeah,
definitely
like
it.
they're just waiting to be killed. Like one guy
Yeah.
was like investigating a thing on a boat and he was just looking over
There
there and I
was
could have sat there
one.
for 15 minutes.
There was one, and it really got me. I killed him by making a dog bark and hiding in a box. And then when he came to basically make the dog shut up, I just grabbed him and stabbed him in the neck and shoved him in the box. It's like, like classic Assassin's Creed. Don't get me wrong. That's actually why I like the game so much. But yeah, I'm glad they delayed it because clearly they made it a better game, and I'm glad that Ubisoft has seen kind of what delays can mean in a positive light. One concern that I have is, what does this mean for games like the remake slash remaster of Splinter Cell, for example? Something that
Yeah.
people have been waiting for a long time at this point. It's going to be interesting to see, and it's
And
nice
it'll be
that they're.
interesting to see once they reveal who is voicing Sam Fisher,
Oh
because
God, yeah,
people love Michael Ironside. They like the last Splinter Cell was excellent, but
yeah,
people didn't play it because it wasn't Michael Ironside,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Definitely, that's true. That's very true. That's not something I even considered, but
Okay.
I wonder whether we're going to get a Ubisoft Forward this summer because I don't think they've announced one yet. But if
I'm
they've
I'm
got,
pretty sure that we'll get one. I mean, like I think everybody has things to announce. I mean, like Nintendo's going to be at Gamescom.
yes,
They weren't last year.
true, true.
So I think everybody will kind of have their own thing and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
So
true, true. But it's just because they've got so much, and I am surprised in that little piece of news that the Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time kind of redo is actually coming. Like I was so scared that that game was never going to come out. I thought it was going to be kind of stuck in development hell, but I'm glad that they've finally been able to clearly get on top of it and hopefully deliver something good that respects that franchise and people enjoy. But for now, what other gaming news do we have to talk about, Jeff?
alrighty. Sorry, banter is killing my roommate right now. All right. The Nintendo Switch 2 will support text to speech. This feature, which has been shown off in a new gameplay clip of Nintendo 2's Game Chat feature, shows players typing messages into the system, which are then read by the system itself. Well, currently unconfirmed, the original Nintendo Switch system supported USB keyboard, so it's likely Nintendo Switch 2 will also support the accessory. The Nintendo Switch 2 will also support live captions, meaning that a chat box on the side of the screen during game chat sessions will transcribe what other players are saying into their Nintendo Switch systems, adding a further layer of accessibility. This is awesome. Like this is something that I would love to see Sony do and Xbox do. You know, where like yeah, like you have basically where someone whose inability to speak can
Yeah.
type on a keyboard,
This
and then
absolutely
have that
from
set.
I'll be honest, from Nintendo, this is shocking. In a good way,
Yeah,
but it's shocking because
it seems like something Xbox would do first.
yeah. Yeah, and that's not even me disparaging Nintendo. It's just that they have never really had a focus on accessibility and they've never really been forward thinking in that way. So to see them do it first, massive credit to them. This is a really good feature that is going to help lots and lots and lots of people. And I hope to see them have other accessibility features built into the system or added to the system later because, you know, like if someone can play in a slightly different way than you, who cares? Like if someone maybe they can't chat on voice chat, but they can still listen to you and they could type their message and have it speak to you. You know, like
Yeah, like I miss having the little keyboard that clipped onto the bottom of the controller. Like I have one for like the older controllers. Like it won't
nice.
attach to the new Series X ones.
Yeah, nice.
Because like there's times where I want to chat to people in Marvel Rivals, but I just don't have the time.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely fair. But yeah, credit to Nintendo for this. I think is a really good feature. Hopefully it works as intended because sometimes these things have a habit of, saying different things than are actually being typed and that kind of thing. So we'll see how it actually works in practice, but on the face of it, massive credit to them and this is an amazing piece of news. Well done, Nintendo.
Yeah. Alrighty. Bungie has acknowledged that an artist's work was taken and used in its upcoming marathon without their permission. Scottish artist Fern Hook, who posts as 4NT1R34I, one on social media, posted a series of messages on Twitter on Thursday accusing Bungie of taking assets from her previous work and using it in a newly released alpha for the game. The Marathon Alpha was released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017, Hook claimed, posting numerous comparison images. Bungie, of course, is not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I've refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over the game without pay or attribution. If you take a look at like a lot of the assets that have kind of been used in the game, there are a lot of things that are there. Bungie has now acknowledged that Hook's claims are accurate and that the staff member responsible for the apparent plagiarism is no longer employed there. We immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in game, a statement in the game's official Discord server reads. The issue was unknown by our existing art team, and we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. We take matters like this very seriously. We have reached out to them, to the artist, to discover the issue, and are committed to do right by the artist. As a matter of policy, we do not use our work of artists without their permission. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our games and in-game assets, specifically those done by the former Bungie artist, and implementing stricter checks on documents on all artist contributions. We value the creativity, and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Yeah, so Hook also claimed that a number of Bungie artists have been following her on social media for a number of years, implying that they have been aware of her work for some time. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I'm tired of designers from huge companies moonboarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living. This also adds to the fact that apparently, like, development of like the morale is in free fall at Bungie regarding Marathon. It
Yeah.
doesn't look really good for like it's not a good look for Bungie for this. I mean, they can do stricter things and stuff like
And
that, but I mean, like honestly, why not just hire them?
this also isn't the first time they've had this kind of issue. They've
No,
had
they had the gun.
yeah,
What's his like that? What's his name's gun? Had the Ace of Diamonds gun or something like that? Had
yeah.
a stolen design. Um,
So it's
yeah,
yeah, it's not great, is it? Let's be honest, it's not great because there's no excuse for it. Like, if this was a tiny little indie company that had done this, then I would be like, okay, yeah, it's still not right, but there would be a bit more understanding from me. But from a company as big and as experienced as Bungie, with the backing of Sony as well now,
hmm
this shouldn't be happening. This should not be
and
happening.
like, and honestly, if they're liking their artwork and all that kind of stuff, like they honestly should just hire this person and say like, hey, we just would like you to be an environmental artist
Yeah,
and pay them. They clearly are approving of the work
yeah,
and they
yeah,
let somebody go. So obviously there's a seat at the table now.
yeah. And also the other thing is like even if you're using someone else's artwork as a reference to a certain style or things that you'd like to have.
Yeah, there's homage to like to everything. There's inspiration. There's like spiritual at the essence of those things used in all sorts of stuff. I mean, you
Yeah,
take a look at any games that have strong art design and they're pulled from certain things. Like
yeah,
tons of like kind of like medieval kind of like games and stuff obviously were inspired by Frank Frazetta, and you get that kind of essence of those games.
yeah.
So
There's
like you
like
even like Doom 2016 or
yeah,
Doom the Dark Ages, like a lot of that stuff's
yeah.
inspired.
Like nothing. Unfortunately, we now live in a world where nothing is completely original, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing completely original. It's always either inspired by something that's come before, or it's using something that's come before in a new and slightly different way. So it's. I have no problem
Well,
with
I would say
using
like
this. Go on.
I would say like some of the original stuff, like we are getting some stuff that is original in a certain sense because we're seeing a lot of games now coming from different cultures that we've never seen really
That's
represented in
true.
games as well
Yeah,
too.
that's
Because like you
definitely
even
true.
take a look at like Expedition 33 is like inspired by a lot of like French stuff, and
Yeah.
that's not really been kind of a very popular or very well known kind of aesthetic
Yeah,
for
very
gaming.
true. Very true. Definitely true. But
We're
my
getting a lot of
point,
like folklore things, like
yeah,
Irish folklore and whatnot.
yeah.
That's been
My
in I don't
point
know
is
6 or 7
more
games
about
lately.
my point is more about the fact that, as you said, Jeff, there's always inspiration in everything, right? In everything,
Yeah.
there's inspiration. So I don't have a
Oh yeah, everybody's
problem.
making games right now. We're inspired by some game to
Yeah.
become a game developer. So
So
inspiration is going to fuel everything.
I don't personally have a problem with Bungie using the art of someone else as a reference point and going, oh, we like this. Could you do something similar to this but put your own twist on it, right? That's not
Yeah.
what I have a problem with, but they should be professional enough to know, oh, this isn't actually our art. It was just being used as a reference point. Why is it in the game then? You know? It's like,
Like the only thing I can think of basically is that like let's say you pull that person's artwork, you make like a splash sheet of like all that stuff,
yeah.
and you include it in the wrong folder that then gets uploaded and
Yeah.
split up to the art team,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden that artist is like, oh wait, shit. That's the only thing that I can think of that if it was unintentional,
Yeah.
but it could just be an artist going like, yeah, no one's gonna see this.
True. Yeah, and also it maybe it's just me being skeptical, but it makes me wonder how many times in the industry, not just within Bungie, but in the industry as a whole, has this happened? And has the artist just never seen it? Or has the artist
Yeah,
not been able to
you
speak
see
up
tons
about
of
it, you know?
lawsuits where
It's
someone comes like 5 6 years later and they're like, oh, blah blah blah. Like Bungie also had that thing with the Destiny strikes and stuff
yeah,
where
yeah,
like
they
they
did.
couldn't even go to court with it because the version of their game doesn't include it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like Bungie has like had massive
I
plagiarism
forgot about
issues in the
that. They
last like
couldn't even go to
3 or 4 years. Like what is happening at Bungie? Like honestly, like whoever is
they
their
got
like
taken
content
over by
checker and stuff like
Sony,
that just needs
and
to be
it's
fired.
all they got taken over by Sony, and it seems to have fallen apart since then, which is very strange because that's not what I would have expected to happen.
Yeah, I don't think there is any type of kind of connective tissue from the Sony acquisition to what's going on here.
I don't think so
Um,
either. I don't think so either.
yeah.
But
Alrighty.
talking about Sony, because this, you know, they are related to this
Yeah.
situation here. So talking about them, sorry, our camera just disappeared. Hopefully you can still see me. I look frozen on the recording. That will sort out in a second. But they, of course, are doing other live service games and things like that as well. And one of them is a brand new studio called Haven. But Haven suffered a big loss very, very recently. What happened, Jeff?
So Jade Raymond has left Haven Studios, the PlayStation-owned studio she founded. According to a new report by Bloomberg, Raymond, who rose to prominence after producing Assassin's Creed while an executive producing Assassin's Creed 2 and Bloodlines and Watch Dogs, has left her studio, which is still in the process of developing online shooter Fair Games. Although a reason wasn't given for Raymond's departure, the report cites sources who note that an external test of Fair Games took place several weeks ago, and the developers were concerned about how it was received. This departure rounds off an eventual decade for Raymond, who left Ubisoft to found EA Motive in 2015 before leaving in 2018 for Google Stadia. So this news is going to translate into the next thing that I'm going to cover as well too. But Jade Raymond essentially has the same kind of career trajectory as Amy Hennig,
Very
where
similar,
they
yeah.
were high profile, they made an absolutely massively important game, and then have done fuck all since because things have either gone canceled or the
Yeah.
game just didn't come out or they've been acquired or the platform
Yeah.
dissolved.
Kind of because a
Like
lot
this
of
sucks.
kind of because of a lot of things outside of their control, right?
Yeah,
So it's
like Amy
it's
Hennig had that Star Wars game that got like real retooled into something else and then canceled and stuff like that. So she never got that going. Like
yeah.
we were gonna have that little ragtag Star Wars game by Amy Hennig, which would have been amazing. Because like
Yeah, it would have.
honestly, she writes the like almost some of the best dialogue in video games.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say
Yeah.
the best dialogue, but I think the first time video game writer of Expedition 33 has the best dialogue in a video game now.
Yeah,
But
yeah, good point.
yeah, like, who knows what Fair
Uh
Games is going to be, whether or not they're concerned it's going to be another Concord, because Sony's live service thing has basically like it's
yeah.
like a whole bunch of like live service ships coming into the planet, and then they forgot the atmosphere burns, and they just dissolved into the atmosphere and then just crushed. Like that's
Yes.
essentially what's happening right now. Is they're so gung ho, they're ready to land, and then basically they just dissolve into just fire.
Yeah.
Um,
It's it's
but
it's interesting because, you know, I just look at it and I go, what has happened where Jade Raymond feels like it's the right thing to leave? Like, for her to leave a studio that she founded only a handful of years ago,
yeah,
has there been a situation where maybe she has, maybe when they got bought out, maybe they had less control over what they were actually making, or
that's what I'm thinking. Is that Sony was wanting to turn it into something that was just going to bastardize their
yeah,
vision, essentially. Um, yes, and this is pure speculation,
yeah,
is they were super happy with the game. Concord failed. They're panicking and they're looking at, okay, we need to make this not have the same impact as Concord.
yeah, true, maybe that. I mean, it's when we see the game and we see more of it and we know more of it, I think we might get a clearer indication, and hopefully over the years, at some point in the future, Jade Raymond might speak about what actually happened and why this got to this situation, because I do feel incredibly sorry for her, you know, because she was. I cannot hear you right
Know
now.
exactly
There you go.
if this is gameplay. but it just looks incredibly generic.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. I remember people saying that when we first kind of had a glimpse of it. But I feel really sorry for Jade Raymond because she was one of those big names as well that kind of took the bet on let's go to Google. Google are all of a sudden all in on gaming. Let's go to Google and get the finances to make something really cool and do something really cool, right?
Yeah,
And many of the industry's best creators and best studio heads and things like that went to Google, and it effectively ended their careers because
yeah,
the
it's the
platform
same thing
collapsed.
when Facebook was reaching out to creators from YouTube and blah blah blah, and they're like, "Hey, we have way more eyeballs on the product and stuff like that. Here's our metrics and stuff." And a lot of creators, like College Humor and stuff, they went to Facebook and left YouTube behind,
Yeah,
and Facebook had immediately lied about everything, and it just tanked it and destroyed everything. And they did that with a lot of creators. So Google's the kind of the same boat
yeah,
where they were promising like the farm, and just
yeah.
basically they're like,
Like I
yeah, here's a
remember,
Apple
Shannon
bot.
Studstill, who was the head of Sony Santa Monica Studios, like she left and went to Google. You had Jade Raymond went there. You had obviously Phil Harrison was at Google, but he's got a interesting history in the gaming industry.
Yeah, or even a lot of creators that basically went to Apple because Apple was paying through the nose for a lot of like the Apple gaming stuff, which is why
Yeah,
you've seen a lot of games
and
kind of being released now from Apple jail.
we spoke about Kojima earlier and OD, but there is a lot of reports that OD is the game that Kojima was originally going to make for Google. That
Yeah.
that apparently is where that partnership kind of came in. Is OD was originally the game he was going to make for Google and for the Stadia because that was kind of one of their big partnership moments. But then obviously Google. I would love to know. I really would love to know what happened at Google where they went, yeah, we're not even willing to wait and see if this works. Because by all accounts,
I
they
think it
had
was just
really
they were
good.
spending a lot of money because it
Yeah,
was costing them like $150 million or something to get like Red Dead or something like on the platform. Like they were having to pay a shit ton of money to
yeah,
get this stuff. And like honestly, if they had just done a subscription model like Game Pass, where it's
yeah,
like, hey, you pay $20 a month and you get access to all these games, it would have
yeah,
been great. But you had to buy these games
yeah,
and
yeah,
then hope the platform was going to stick around.
yeah. True, true. And do you know what's funny? And I'm gonna do a write up on the Outer Haven about this soon. But I've been using for the last few months. I've been using NVIDIA GeForce Now, which is essentially like very similar to what Google Stadia was doing, right? Because
Yeah,
you,
like you own a game and then like
yeah,
I recommended that to a friend at work for playing Marvel Rivals
yeah,
because they don't have a PC that can run it.
yeah, and it's an incredible service. But the reason it's an incredible service is because Nvidia stuck with it and actually supported it and have improved it
Yeah.
over time. Google, for whatever reason, either they grossly underestimated the cost of actually getting into the gaming business, or they just weren't willing to take the risk. Because by all
It's like
accounts,
they were on a boat. They saw basically like a spoonful of water on the floor, and they're like, abandon ship," and then just like leaped.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
pretty much what it is. Like they don't even know where the leak came from.
yeah, that's true actually. But it's a real shame because I never got a chance to try Stadia, but everything I heard is that from a technological point of view, their cloud
I had a
streaming tech
trial
was actually the
for
best
trying it.
apparently. Like at the time anyway, they were kind of ahead of everybody else. So it would have been
Yeah. Oh,
interesting to see.
I had a preview for that Immortals of Avium or something like that on Stadia. I
Oh
think
wow,
that's where
okay.
I tried it.
Oh okay.
I think.
What a weird place. But yeah, this
Yeah.
is this is sad. Hopefully Jade Raymond does
No,
finally
not
do.
Immortals of Avium. Um, Gods and Monsters, whatever
Oh
that turned
yeah,
into.
yeah. What's it called?
Wasn't it Immortals,
Phoenix
Gods, and Phoenix?
Phoenix Rising or something.
Something like that. That was the game that I'm pretty sure that I tried Stadia on with the trial. because they had a preview for it or something.
Nice, nice. But yeah, I hope that Jade Raymond finally does make a game at some point. And we did obviously talk about our someone we like, Amy Hennig, a little earlier. And
Yeah.
she has been
Um,
working on a game, but what's happened?
Yeah, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra has been delayed to next year, the game's publisher has announced. In a statement posted on Twitter, Skydance Games said the game, which was previously set to release this year, will now come out early next year instead. We have an important update, the post reads. Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra will now be launching in early 2026. Taking this additional time will allow us to add more polish and make sure we give you the best possible experience and one that lives up to our vision. We will have some exciting things to share in the future. So I really, really hope that this game comes out because it looks good,
Yeah.
and I just want Amy Hennig to have a
I mean,
fucking win.
I think it's coming out. I do
He had a
think.
game since what, Uncharted 3?
Yeah, yeah, and that's just like I say. Most of that is from circumstances outside of her control. Like you said, her Star Wars game got repurposed into something else. Then she went somewhere else for a while, and something else happened. And now she's obviously where she is, and they've been working on this game for several years at this point, I believe. But I do
Yeah, it's
think,
been 11 years since she's had a game.
yeah, which is great. Like, that's a long time. It's not as long as some people might think.
Oh, I guess she did some writing on Forspoken.
She did, yeah. She helped with the world writing, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, so they brought in like her and like um, Gary Whitta and
Yeah.
a bunch of other people and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but
It's
yeah,
but she
like
hasn't
you
had a
know,
full thing for a while, yeah.
yeah, I just want this game to come out.
I think
I
it
want her to
will.
have a
I think it
win.
like
It looks really good.
if I was a betting man, I think this game is going to come out. I think that
Well,
if there was any danger of it not coming out, I think this delay would have been more of an indefinite delay kind of situation, and that's not what
here's
we're seeing here.
here's my thing. This is Skydance Games.
Yeah,
Do they know what they got into?
true,
You know, because like how many what other games do they have under their publication that are like these big budget kind of AAA looking games?
true.
So that's my main concern. Like honestly, like I assume that okay, if this game's coming out, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it has a joint publisher or it switches to a new publisher by the time that it comes out.
But isn't her studio actually owned by Skydance?
Yeah, but I think honestly that they will probably I just see them I don't know. I it's hard to say exactly like
Have
because I mean the studio could
Skydance?
be owned by it, but they could do it. They could have a different publisher
True.
who's
Have
going to like help with
Skydance
advertising and
published
stuff.
any other games yet? You might be able to find that out, but I'm interested because if they haven't, then maybe this is their kind of big opening salvo type, flag in the sand. We are. This is what we can do type of thing. But if they have published other games, then maybe you are correct, and maybe they've kind of potentially bitten off a little bit more than they can chew, or not really realized what creating a
So they've
triple A
had a
game
few. They've had
takes.
Skydance Behemoth, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Retribution,
Okay,
um, Archangel. They have a new
interesting.
Star Wars thing coming out, and then that. So they've had like nothing major.
So
Like
they
I don't know what
haven't.
this Behemoth is.
So they haven't done anything on this scale. That's interesting, and that does concern me
Yeah.
slightly. But yeah,
Then who
I'm
knows how big the team is? Like
yeah,
who knows
that's
how
true.
big that team is? Because if it's like 50 people, sure. If it's like 400 people, but I
Yeah.
don't see Amy Hennig getting a 400 person studio.
No, I if I was to guess, and I don't know, this is pure speculation. But if I was to guess, with this being Skydance, and with it being their first bigger budget game, I can see this being somewhere in the realm of like a Remedy sized production, if that makes sense. I think they've probably got.
Apparently, the studio is comprised of at least 50 to 200 employees,
Wow,
split up
okay.
across different development studios.
Interesting. Because we don't know how they're
So there could
split
be like
either.
there could
Yeah,
be 50 people working on this, and then 50 people working on Behemoth, and
yeah.
yada
It's
yada
gonna
yada.
it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm gonna remain hopeful that this game actually is coming out. However, let's hope for their sake that it's not on the same day as GTA 6 because that wouldn't
Let's
go
hope
very
not.
well.
Yeah, we're releasing May 27th. Oh, we sold 14 copies. Alrighty. Speaking of something that sold 14 copies, SNK has announced that its CEO will be stepping down following the release of its heavily marketed latest fighting game, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. The company announced that Kenji Masubara, who joined as CEO in August of 2021, will transition to an advisory role where he will continue to lend his expertise and vision. During his tenure as CEO, Mr. Matsubara has been instrumental in driving the company's growth and innovation. He transformed SNK by expanding its development division and strengthening its sales and marketing functions, building it into a global publisher capable of competing worldwide. While there's no official sales figures that have been shared for City of the Wolves, there is some evidence that it has not performed as well as one would hope. The fighter sold only 6,302 copies in Japan in its first 11 days, according to Famitsu. On Steam, the game has an all time peak concurrent player number of 4,674, which is lower than even its recent beta, and the last 24 hours hit a peak of 1,157. By comparison, Street Fighter 6 hit a peak concurrent of more than 32,000 players in its last 24 hours, Tekken 8 having an all-time peak of 49,977, which is roughly around 6,841 right now. So this has been kind of, I mean, they had Fatal Fury promoted on boxing, on WrestleMania, a bunch of stuff, but it just has not been capturing the
Yeah,
audience. I don't know. Like for me, I think Fatal Fury is a fantastic fighting game. I reviewed it. Go check it out. I think it's great. I think it's fucking bizarre that you have real people
yeah,
as their DLC. I mean, the DJ is kind of funny because there's one part where he's like holding someone and he's just like punching and looking at the camera, and that's fun. And he's in the story mode. But you have Ronaldo, that soccer player. Why the fuck is he there? He's not even in the story mode. He doesn't have an arcade mode. He's just there for verses.
yeah. It's so weird.
And
It is
it's
weird.
like it's it feels like a slap in the face to the SNK hopeful or faithful that have been kind of like campaigning to have this game done, to have these real people there when you have so much of SNK's history for Fatal Fury's history that should have shown up there. But I think the game has like an okay amount of content. The main story mode is, I think it lacks the presentation to kind of keep one focused. But no, this is kind of interesting of like their CEO stepping down because like this game is just not performing. And I almost think that this is probably the end of Fatal Fury. Like I don't think it'll be coming back for a new game. I think they'll just go and make another King of Fighters because those games have done fairly well. But like Fatal Fury City Wolves is an excellent fighting game. It's got some fantastic systems, but it's just its character lineup right now is just bare bones compared to any other fighting game because like fighting game fans are eating good right now. Tekken 8's getting better after a couple of patches kind of sacrificed a lot of its player count. Street Fighter 6 has been doing very very good as well too. Going into the next story as well too is like the Tekken boss apparently is trying to get an official Waffle House stage because fans have been wanting that because of the media stuff
Yeah,
surrounding Waffle House and people having fights there. So that's interesting, but Waffle House has just not got back to them yet. So there's a lot of neat things happening in fighting games, but a lot of unfortunate things happening because like we also had that Capcom collection come out, which has been absolutely fantastic.
yes,
So that's been doing extremely well. People getting introduced to Project Justice and Power Stone 2 for the first time. Those games are like ultimately classics. So it's really really tough like for fighting games to kind of stand out because even like 2KO is going to be coming out or whatever the
yeah.
the League of Legends fighting game, and that's going to be free to play. So that's going to have an instant audience right off the bat. It also looks great. It's got like 2-on-2 fights and stuff, so you can have
Yeah.
4 people participating in a fight.
Yeah.
There's some really neat things coming out, and Fatal Fury just seems to be caught in kind of this. It's just not good enough.
The genre is more crowded nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, and
It's
you have
it's
Virtual
just
Fighter
as
6 coming out as well too.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So it is unfortunate. Honestly, like my biggest complaint is that Mai doesn't have her outfit. She only has it in the special attack, and then
Mhm.
immediately goes back to the black suit.
Yes.
That's my biggest complaint is that it doesn't have the Mai that I absolutely love. Because
Yeah.
like I have a Mai statue like
Yes, you do. Yeah.
right there, right there on the left. So like I just want that Mai in the game, and that I mean Terry has his classic outfit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I guess
I
I'll just
feel
have to
like
get Mai
maybe
in
it
Street
just
Fighter Six.
for whatever reason it's just kind of fallen by the wayside of lots of players, I think, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And something that fell by the wayside of gaming news for a very long time was, of course, the fact that Microsoft did buy Activision. And we all forget, but the Federal Trade Commission in the US did appeal the decision to allow this merger to go through. However, I don't think it's gone very well for them, has it, Jeff?
No, so we got some good news from Microsoft, some amazing news from Microsoft, and some really shitty news from
Yes.
Microsoft.
Yes.
So we're gonna go into this FTC thing. So the FTC tried to appeal the decision of Activision Blizzard, Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard in October 23 for 69 nice billion dollars. That appeal has not gone through. It's been denied. So Microsoft 100% can
Uh,
continue its
I mean,
operations with
let's
Activision
be
Blizzard.
honest. There was no way they were going to get an appeal granted when Microsoft is now publishing all their games everywhere because nobody is losing anything. So,
Yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
like it is one of those things where it's like Microsoft officially acquired Activision Blizzard on October 2023. This followed the U.S. District Court for the Northern District Court of California decision in July of 2023 to deny the FTC's motion for a preliminary injunction. Instead, with the injunction denied, the acquisition was able to be completed. Unwilling to let the matter lie, however, the FTC proceeded with an appeal in December of 2023, attempting to overturn the court's decision, and that has just not gone through. So yeah, like Microsoft now has pretty much no legal hurdles essentially for this merger and whatnot. However, this merger and the acquisition of everybody and kind of where the business is going is where it leads us into our final news story, which is absolutely gutting, but
Yes.
very typical of what we've discussed on this podcast since its inception. Microsoft has announced that it will be laying off 3% of its total staff. Now, that doesn't sound bad,
But how many
right?
staff is that?
That's why the headline is that way. Like, if you're doing a damaging headline, you say the employee count.
Yeah.
So when you're saying 3%, and you're like, oh, that can't be that bad. Oh boy. The layoffs will take place across all levels, teams, and locations, according to a CNBC report suggesting that Microsoft's gaming division may be affected to some extent. According to the report, Microsoft had around 228,000 employees by the end of last June, which would mean that laying off 6,840 employees. In a statement to CNBC, Microsoft spokesperson said that one of the objectives of the layoffs was to reduce layers of management, saying we continue to implement our organizational changes needed to best position the company for success in a dynamic marketplace. This would be the largest mass layoffs at Microsoft since January 2023, when the company confirmed it plans to lay off 4.5% of its workforce, which was around 10,000 employees. So, yeah, like almost 7,000 employees is 3% of their workforce. So it's a low number when you see that 3%, but then when you actually put the people in perspective, that's like 7,000 people.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of it's probably their dream job. You know, like they
Yeah.
probably just got their dream job, and a year later, boom, they're
And
done.
look, this isn't just about gaming. It's very clear that this is going to
Yeah,
affect many different
the
parts of
whole company.
Microsoft. But it's one of those things where there are just so many layoffs all of the time now. And I don't get me wrong, I have always I've always had the argument that at the end of the day, layoffs always happened. We just never used to speak about them.
Yeah,
And layoffs happen in every single industry in the world on a very consistent basis. I think the
yep,
problem when it comes to gaming specifically is that we see companies who make millions or billions of dollars per year from gaming in profit, and they're putting prices of these games up and prices of the hardware up, and then they go and get rid of staff. It comes down to pure greed. Like, that ultimately is what it comes down to,
yeah.
because it's
I
about
mean, like,
making as much money as possible.
and the story kind of has parallels with the recent news of like Walmart in the States basically like raising their prices because of the tariffs, and then Trump going, "Oh, they've made a billions of dollars in profits and stuff. They should just eat the tariffs."
Yeah.
Because again, his tariffs are inflating prices, and that's happening with gaming. Like we saw the Xbox Series X and
Yeah.
S like jump crazy amounts to what they are now. Like people were like waiting for PS5s and stuff to go down in price, and that ain't fucking happening.
No,
If
no.
anything, they're going way up.
Well, I think it was the Sony CEO said recently that, if the tariffs continue the way they are, they will be evaluating the price of the product effectively.
Yeah, because like Xbox raised their price, the Switch 2 is catastrophically expensive as well too.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, like it's a lot of these companies and stuff like they're raising prices so they can maintain that income
Yeah, because they want
because
to
they don't want to
maintain
like
the same margin of profit. That's the thing.
yeah
It's but it sucks, and I'm really sorry to these 6,000 plus people that are going to
yeah
lose their jobs or that have lost their jobs already by the time you're seeing this. I'm very, very sorry to all those people.
hmm
The tech industry and the gaming industry and all these things really, really suck because, yes, in a nice, kind world where every human being cared about other human beings, all of these companies should never need to lay off anybody. They make more than enough money that they don't need to lay off anyone. And yes, you could
yeah,
argue
like
that,
there's no reason for a CEO to take home like $600 million a year.
yeah,
There's no fucking reason.
yeah. And how many staff members could that pay for? You know?
Exactly. Like
So,
you see, was it Iwata, whatever, took like a pay cut or whatever because of like
yeah.
what
And
was
don't
happening
get
at
me
Nintendo.
wrong, I understand the point of maybe structural changes mean that you move people around, right? Like you don't need, for example, one thing I spoke about with gaming is like they're not going to need everyone that managed stuff for Activision to stay because they have people who already do that for Microsoft. So yes,
Yeah,
I understand that element of it of you're not going to want basically people who aren't actually needed and who are basically in positions where they're doing a job that someone else is already doing because that is a waste of money and it doesn't make sense for anybody. But at the same time, rather than making those people redundant or whatever, why not offer them an alternative role? If there's a situation where you've got two people that are managing the same thing, why not offer one of them an alternative role? And you go, oh, actually, we have some space over here. You could come and do this instead. And then
yeah,
it becomes their choice. I think there are always ways around things. And for companies that make billions of dollars a year, this is never acceptable. Like, if we were sat here talking about, I don't know, if we were sat here talking about the team that made Claire Expedition 33, right? Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and they said, oh, we're going to have to lay off 3% of our staff, that would be a different circumstance
Yeah, it's like
because
two people.
they're an independent company as well, and they don't make billions or hundreds of millions a year in profit. Like, so it's
Well,
about, like,
I mean, they're
context is
making some good money
important.
right now.
They are, yeah, they absolutely are. And you know that, like, yeah, it just sucks. It really sucks. So I am very, very sorry to all of these people that are losing their jobs, and I hope you can find new ones very quickly. And if you are working in gaming, there are always jobs out there, so please make sure you look around. And if any studio members or independent developers who are looking for staff are out there listening to this show, please, you know, make sure you're sharing your job listings and stuff on social media, because that kind of stuff does help people. It really does. And you know, in a time like this where people are losing their jobs for seemingly no real reason, it's more than needed. So please do that. But let's talk about what we've been playing, Jeff, because we got about half an hour of the show left here. We've been playing a few things. I'm going to go first because, as I briefly mentioned earlier, I have played Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I haven't played more than what I've streamed so far, so you can actually see everything that I've played. But what a video game this is. Like,
Hmm.
this might be one of my favourite video games ever. Just from a writing perspective, from an artistic perspective, from an atmospheric perspective, from a fact that they've done an old school RPG and then put the unique twist on it of, yeah, we're going to have fully active turn-based combat as well. It's
It's
it's,
like
it's
I've seen
incredible.
a lot of people saying like this is the Square Enix game they've been wanting for years.
Yeah. Yeah, I can completely understand that. Yeah. It's honestly, and I know that it's now come out that with contractors and everything, there were actually a lot of people that worked on this video game.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, there were still 33 core developers. And
yeah, like
as Jeff mentioned
it's
earlier,
insane.
one of them is a first time writer ever for a video game. And this
Yeah,
game
she worked at like a
has,
financial firm or something, and
yeah,
then came in to voice a character, and then eventually became the lead
yeah.
writer.
And
I mean,
this
the
game,
soundtrack guy was out off SoundCloud.
yeah, and this game has the soundtrack as well. But this game has some of the best writing I've ever seen in a video game because it
But
feels
it's realistic
really
writing.
natural.
It's not
Yeah, it
video game writing.
no, no, and it doesn't. It's it's that thing where I often say that the problem is gamers don't want realistic writing because realistic writing in a game often can sound like Forspoken. I actually think Forspoken, lots of Forspoken's writing is quite realistic because she reacts the way that you would if you were in that situation. But
Yeah, I think the difference though is there's realistic writing to be quippy and snappy and all that kind of stuff, but when you have a very deeply emotional game,
yeah,
that's where the dialogue has a little bit more substance to
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of my thing is like because they hit you with that emotion so early on, right? And they set up this really strong kind of core story, and then you get to minor spoilers for the game here. Literally, for the very first couple of hours of the game, you get to the island. You go off on your expedition. You get to the island, and then what happens there. And I literally was like, in my head, I was like, "Oh my god, what are we gonna do?" Like I genuinely was like,
Oh,
"What the
it's
hell?"
amazing.
Like,
Yeah, like
um, is
It's just
so
like
good.
it's like their beach of Normandy, pretty much. Like it just feels like that.
My only issue with the game so far is that because of the lack of, well, there is a map, of course, and the game does tell you where to go, but it's actually quite hard to find where to go in some in some situations. It's quite difficult to understand where you need to go because they will be quite vague and say you need to go to this place, but they don't tell
Yeah,
you
I
that
mean,
you've got to do like five other things first to get, you
yeah,
know.
like, and the one thing is when you're in the maps and stuff, if you follow the lamps,
Yeah.
that's the main path, and if you don't
Yes.
follow the map, then that's like off the beaten path. So
Yeah.
like it does kind of smart ways there. But yeah, yeah, I can understand it. I mean, it's not as bad as another game that we'll talk about for
Yes.
navigating,
Yeah, for
but
sure. But yeah, on the whole, you asked me to kind of give you my impressions, Jeff, of what I thought and whether it would be my game of the year or not. And I can't say for certain because I haven't finished it yet. But if the game lives up to the first sort of 6 hours that I've played, this is going to be very, like, it will be very close to my game of the year. And
mm,
there's only really one thing so far that I have enjoyed just as much, but for different reasons. And an Expedition 33 would top that purely because, on an execution level, it's a better overall video game. And
yeah. Oh, and
I can't get
honestly,
over it.
just wait till you get later on, because like that game gets better every single hour. Like
Wow.
the end of Act One is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Um, and then even like Act Two, and like it's
I do want to
yeah,
ask
just wait.
you.
It
I want to
constantly
ask
gets
you
better.
one thing though, Jeff. I want to ask you for a tip, and you can be as vague or whatever as possible. You know how, and you would have seen it on the stream because I know you were watching. You come across these like white monster type things. I forget what they're called. And there's the one that you
Yeah,
have to find the light for, and then there's the other one that looks a
yeah. You
bit
find the
like an
resin
enemy, but
like
he's
within a couple minutes.
yeah. So I did find the resin, and then it goes out, and then he wants me to find, and it's like, my question is there something I should be doing? Like, do these things
Do whatever they want.
pay off to anything? Like,
I don't know the exact payoff. I maybe haven't explored it yet. There could be a secret mission later on that post game that I haven't noticed, but I
hmm,
do know that you do want to help them. You don't want to kill them. You don't want to attack them.
okay, okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Because that's what I was planning to do anyway. But yeah, that was yeah. I really really loved the game so far. I think artistically it's amazing as well. Like the amount of times I'm just walking along and I'm like I could just sit here, you know, and listen to the music as I'm exploring this wonderful landscape. And there's that area that's essentially underwater and
Mm.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, this is so cool. Like you just
Yeah,
like yeah.
there's a video I'm gonna link to you later on that shows what the game looked like very early on when it was called something else.
Okay.
It shows footage and everything, and like to go from that to what they did, it looks like an upgrade from PS1 to like PS4.
Oh wow, okay.
Like it is catastrophic. And then when Kepler Interactive was able, I think that's the publisher.
Yes, yeah, it is, yeah.
Um, when they took over, they're like, hey, yeah, we can get you Charlie Cox, we can get you Jennifer English,
I
we can get you
still
Ben
want to know
Starr.
how they managed to do that though. I still want to know how they managed to get these
Oh,
people.
yeah, it's amazing. Like the story of how that game was made. Like I can't wait for like a big documentary about
Here's
it,
a
because like I
question for
watched this
you,
one thing that was
because
like
because
30
I don't know
minutes,
if
and
you saw this in the news, Jeff, but they are making a movie of this
yeah,
video game. Do you think that any of the members of the cast will get the role in the movie?
I mean, if the Ghost of Tsushima movie's any indication, probably not. Like they don't seem to want to cast like the main leads. Like
But Charlie
honestly,
Cox
like
should be in this movie, right?
it would be great to kind of see that because like like there's I've seen some people fan casting it and stuff, and like yeah, Charlie Cox would be fantastic. I mean like Ben Starr is an actor, so like
Yeah,
him as Verso would be fantastic. I mean Jennifer English is way too old for it. Like the thing about it is you have to cast actors that are kind of appropriately aged because
yeah,
like Charlie Cox is in his 40s. Now they
yes,
could change the story so that but it wouldn't be Expedition 33 then. And
yeah,
like do we really I don't think any of the actors are going to be except for maybe the voices of characters that are not human. So
yeah,
you could
true,
have like those characters kind of being done by their voice cast.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
It'll
like
be
it's
interesting to see, but I would love to see at least some of them, get an opportunity just because they nail these performances. I
oh yeah.
saw a little clip. I saw a small clip of the very early scene in the game where Gustav is on the dock, right?
Yeah.
And the emotion in their faces when they're acting out this scene in like the motion capture jumpsuits with phone cameras right in their face. I
Yeah.
have never seen anything like it. Like, it's
Like
crazy.
I say in my review that we have seen some amazing facial capture where the extremes are beautifully animated, the lows are fantastic, but there's sometimes no middle.
Yeah,
And this game has the middle.
yeah.
So when the character is like sighing, like,
You
like,
actually
you
see it.
see that.
And
It
it's
just
not
doesn't
over
have like
exaggerated
the
either.
basics.
It's not over exaggerated. It has
No,
that.
it is most subtle lip movements and stuff and cheeks and stuff and how they're doing everything. Like
Yeah.
you'll get to a scene where like I don't know if you're there yet, where they go to a village of the little like dumb people and they're like, "Hey, the password is get out of my way," and you have to say that really loud. And then they go to this guy and they see him there and they're like, "Okay, we need to say the password or whatever." And they're like, "Well, I'm not really that loud." And they're like, "Gustav, you're loud." And you see Gustav go, this animation of it is just so brilliant and it's just so subtle and like yeah sure Naughty Dog makes characters look lifelike and
Yeah.
blah 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 and yada 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 and their facial expressions are great. I just don't see
They
those little
don't have the subtleties.
subtleties,
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
and that's what makes that game
And
is those subtleties.
the only way they get those subtleties in bigger AAA games I find is when they over exaggerate them to make them very clear and very obvious. Whereas this game
Yeah.
doesn't need to do that. It's very, very well done. I love it. I look forward to playing more of it. I may stream some more of it, but I also, because I'm so in love with it, I kind of just want to experience it as well. But I may well stream some more of it, so keep an eye out on the channel for that, and obviously make sure you're subscribed.
Oh, the documentary that I was talking about that I'll reference to you,
Hmm.
when I saw the name of the YouTuber who did it, I literally put my head in my hands and went, why?
Oh God. Oh God.
Okay, so definitely check this out. I want to promote this guy's stuff because the Expedition 33. It's a 17-minute video of it.
Okay.
The YouTuber's name is Pounder McNasty.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Like what a name!
Uh, let's
Like
let's move swiftly on because because we um we were both given codes late last week. Well, at the time of early access launch, basically for Doom: The Dark Ages. So thank you to my PR contact for giving us those codes, and I think we both played at least a little bit of it. So,
I beat it.
oh wow, okay, what
Yeah,
do you
I'll be working on
think?
the review hopefully today. Okay, so Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal had an energy to them, and that energy basically came in the name of Mick Gordon. That music was amazing, the dynamic music, like when you would grab a gun or whatever, like the guitar riffs would start going, the music would start going, and it just felt like the music was as much of a character as the Doom Marine was. It felt like it just gave you the energy that you needed to just fucking kill everything. Doom the Dark Ages has the most generic and basic soundtrack I've ever fucking heard in my life. There's like one or two good moments with music, and they're all during cutscenes.
Oh wow, okay.
The music during the game is either absent, muted, or just incredibly basic. It just doesn't feel like you have any commitment of the music affecting the gameplay whatsoever. I think it's the worst soundtrack of the series, and for me, that sours a lot of that experience. I think the action's really good. I think the shield stuff's really good. The only problem I have with the shield stuff is it's built around this deflection type of thing. So when
Yes.
green things are coming at you, you deflect. The problem is most of that deflection needs to be in wide open areas to really benefit from the distance that those things are coming from. And the problem is 80 to 90% of this game are massive open areas which don't feel very Doom like. So like I agree with Maximilian Dude where I'm like just dude fucking give me a corridor. Give me one fucking corridor. And you get that occasionally, like in level 12 or 13. Same with Maximilian Dude. He gets into this one area where it's a corridor and he's like, this is already my favorite level. Like he was in there for like 9 seconds. He goes, this is already my favorite level. And
Yeah.
so for me, like the open areas really suffocate the fun out of that kind of essence of these curated battles
Yeah.
because you got these areas and monsters all over the place and yeah you can throw your shield and explode the shield guys and all that stuff and the action's fun, the shield's really good, I like using it. It feels like if Captain America was just on acid and just started killing fucking everyone.
Yeah, just
Like that's what
on
it
acid.
feels like the game is
What a
good. I'll say
line.
it's polished. It is the
Mm,
AAA shooter you want from Doom. It
yeah.
looks fantastic. The visuals are
Mm,
great. I just don't think it has the same DNA to
yeah.
make me really care about pushing through it as much as I did with
Yeah.
Doom and Doom Eternal.
So, I've only played a little bit of it so far because I have been quite busy and I've also, you know, been able to play something that I can't speak about yet. However, what I would say is for me so far, Doom the Dark Ages kind of epitomizes that thing with Doom where even going back to the original Doom games, each one was quite different and people
Yeah,
have their favorite. And I think they've sort of done the same thing again. They've gone, because Doom 2016 was very sort of original Doom in its core design.
yeah.
It was very. Then they tried to add the platforming stuff and things like that to Eternal, and it really put a lot of people off. But there are some people that
Yeah,
actually
the
preferred that game.
platforming was my least favorite thing, and they have it here. It's used,
Yeah,
but not as much.
yeah. And then in Dark Ages, I think they've tried to do some different stuff and kind of open up the formula a little bit. Like you've got the dragon, you've got you've got these different things, you've
Yeah,
got
like
these
the
big
dragon stuff is like
areas.
almost like Panzer Dragoon in a way,
Yeah,
and it's fine. I don't think the following and shooting stuff is terribly fun, and
yeah,
like it's basically just used to like dodge these things and shoot stuff. I don't think the dragon stuff is
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. I agree.
I mean, like it also has an issue with like its progression systems and stuff because it has like this little like skill thing that you keep buying, and the problem is by like halfway through the game you have all that shit,
Yeah,
and then all you have left to do is the weapon upgrades, and I
yeah,
don't think the weapon upgrades are amazing.
yeah. So what?
And
What
there's
I?
no dash. Like
Yeah,
this game
yeah. I
feels
know.
built for a dash.
Yeah. What I would say is that while I don't know and I haven't decided where I fall on Doom the Dark Ages yet, I do think that it's going to be one of those games that some people will really like it. It will be for some
Oh, for
people.
sure.
This will be their game of the trilogy, right?
Yeah.
In the
Like
same way that
there
for
is
some,
one moment.
go
There's
on.
one moment in this game that is one of my favorite moments across the entire Doom trilogy.
Wow.
I won't say what it is,
Okay.
but what I will say is that when he finally decides to do something about the lock that's on him, like he literally like actually does something with it, that moment that follows with the green, the result of that is one of my favorite moments in the Doom trilogy. It is because I'm sitting here, I'm
Interesting.
like, oh, are they doing it? Are they doing it? And then finally they do it, and I'm like, oh, that's fucking awesome. And
Cool.
it was
Cool.
really neat. And then the moment that follows later on, where he's like ramming something into it, that's one of the music moments that's fantastic. And I was like, let's fucking go. Like, that was
Yeah.
great. I wanted more moments like that.
Yeah.
And
No,
like,
that's understandable.
that's the issue I have with this game is that it just lacks like I can't think of one memorable boss encounter except for maybe the last one. And the thing is,
Fair.
you fight these bosses, and then all of the bosses become regular enemies. And
Hmm.
by halfway through the game, you've seen every single enemy the game is going to give you. I'm
Yes.
not kidding. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm like, man, they haven't shown me a Cacodemon at all. Period. Like this is a staple of Doom. And then I looked up the Cacodemon like on Google, and it says like Cacodemon Doom the Dark Ages, and I'm like, what? There was no Cacodemon. Like, what are you talking about? And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's the Brain guy. They basically combined the Brain guys from Duke Nukem 3D into the. It looks so different. It doesn't look like a Cacodemon. It's not round. It has like a little brain, and then it comes down like this.
Yeah, they've yeah, it's
It looks so weird.
yeah, it
But
is it's
no,
weird.
like it my final takeaway with it is it is an absolutely fucking awesome game. I just don't think it is as good as Doom 2016 or Eternal. It just in some ways
And to
doesn't
be
feel
fair,
like Doom. It
to
feels
to
more
be
like
fair, those games set a really high bar as well, didn't they?
yeah. But what I was getting to is like it doesn't really feel too much like Doom. It feels like they took Painkiller and Serious Sam and combined it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a
It's got it's got so much Serious Sam energy, like fucking crazy.
that's a good way of describing it actually.
Like if you've played any of the Serious Sam's games, they have these wide open areas.
Yeah, yeah.
And if Doom would have had headless guys with little bombs going "Rah," and charging at
Yes.
you, I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
this is Serious Sam.
Let's let's talk because we've got probably about 15 minutes here. So let's talk about
Yeah,
another game that we both played, which is the reason we're actually holding this episode slightly. Why don't you go
yeah. I
first,
do want
Jeff?
to I do want to briefly talk about Roadcraft as well,
Okay.
just because I'm be putting that review out today. But yeah, like Blades of Fire. So Blades of Fire, the embargo drops after, or sorry, before this video is going to go live. Um, so I've put together my review for it. I will be um, I don't think I've put a score at the bottom of it yet.
Interesting.
No, like my main issue is Blades of Fire is the poster child of when an engine is outdated.
Yeah.
The Mercury Steam engine to me is a relic now. It doesn't serve this game well. The load times are absolutely astronomical. The game does not look great. It basically like if you were to tell me that this was a remastered Xbox 360 game that was just upresed,
Yeah.
I'd 100% believe you.
Yeah.
100% believe you. No hesitation whatsoever.
I thought that
Um,
straight away. As soon as I played it, I was like, this is not that it looks bad, but it looks like a cleaner, sort of slightly more vibrant Xbox 360 game. That is what it looks
yeah,
like.
and like the combat is interesting because basically it's like you have your controller, and so like you'll have your upward attack, your downward attack, your left and right attacks. And some weapons will slash this way, some will this way, and some will go that way. And the ones that go this way, if you're in like a tight hallway, you're hitting the wall. You're not hitting the enemy, so you're wasting your stamina. And the only way to rebuild stamina is to block. And if you're getting attacked by multiple enemies at once, it's very difficult to kind of get an attack in there when you're just getting bombarded with these hits. And like, I don't know, like, I think the attack system is pretty interesting for what it does. But ultimately, like, I don't think the game's amazing. I was kind of let down with it because, like, it is a combination of like the new God of War games. If the new God of War games were Souls-like, that's what this game is.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like you take a look at Lords of Shadow, that was a tribute or inspired by the original God of War games. Like when
Yes.
Kratos was like, the more smaller model of swinging the blades
Yeah.
around and all
Yeah,
that kind of
that's
stuff.
true actually, yeah.
So they kind of adapt from there, but like the stupid thing is your character can't jump. So if you're at a little area and you're like, oh, I need to get to this area, and then you have to go blah 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 blah, and you're finally there. But then there'll be these other areas that are like this, and he'll have an RB to jump. Like
Yeah.
it's the level design is so fucked in some ways
Yeah.
because there's one
But
part
then
where I needed to get to,
that
and all he had to do
also
was jump.
that also goes back to that old school kind of Xbox 360 type of design, doesn't
Yeah.
it? You know,
My
it's
biggest issue is you have jump in context moments,
yeah.
and those jumps are way bigger than these little gaps that I can't cross.
Yeah, which is so weird.
Stupid. But like there when the game hits, it's very good.
Yeah.
The combat can be super fun when you're like dismembering like trolls and like their arms fall off and all that kind of stuff. And every time you kill enemies, it builds to a meter that essentially unlocks more designs, and then you go to a forge. I still think it's so stupid that like you have the forge and then the table, and you spawn here. So then you gotta walk around the forge to go to the table every fucking time instead of spawning them right next to the table. And then when
Yeah.
you go to the table, load screen.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I can see how this game could be amazing,
Yeah.
but like I don't know. It's just like there are moments of this game, and the thing is, you have no idea where to go. It basically is like, oh, well, you need to head west, and that's the only direction the only indicator you'll get. And then I'm like, there's no objective markers or anything until you go into the settings and scroll down and go to show objective marker, and you'll
Yes.
click that, and it'll show your next objective marker. And I'm like, why is this just not part of what you're doing? Like, there's no quest guide, so if you missed them talking about, if you missed the line of dialogue of needing to go west, most of the time it'll be like, oh yeah, we need to head to the kingdom to like ring the bell. It's like, well, where is it? You have no fucking clue. It's so weird. Like it just feels like a whole bunch of bad ideas polluted what could have been an amazing action game. And the thing that I find so frustrating about it is this would have been a perfect 12-hour game,
Yeah.
but it's a 50-hour game. And I don't think the combat supports the combat depth. I don't think it supports what this game is. I feel some areas are incredibly bloated. It just feels like a very, very bloated game. They're like, okay, we need to make this game at least 50 hours long.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. It feels sort of caught between them wanting to make an old school style action game and then trying to make it modern at the same time, and I think within that they just made some of the wrong decisions, quite frankly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
wanted
just
to love this game so much, and I just don't. Like right now, I think I'm sitting on like probably like a six.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's not a terrible game. Like we're not trying to put that out
no,
there.
I can see a lot of people having a lot of fun with it, especially
Yeah.
the weapon variety and like because like you're not making your character stronger, you're making the weapons stronger.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I like elements of the game, but I do think the execution is off. That's how I would kind of sum it up. But now,
But
before we finish, I know you want to talk a little bit about Roadcraft, so I'll give you a couple of minutes here, because I
yeah,
haven't actually played it yet, but I know you've played it and you did a bit of co-op as well with one of our friends. What is the game, first of all, for people who don't know, and what do you
yeah.
think of it?
So if you're familiar with Mudrunner and SnowRunner and Mudrunner Expeditions and stuff like that, this is the continuation and the evolution of where those games are going. And each iteration of those games have implemented deeper mechanics and more vehicles that have more complex mechanics. They've been getting more mechanically complex as the series has gone on. And this is like if you're sitting on the like if you're taking like a vehicle out, like you get a call in the middle of the night like, hey, my quad is stuck in this like bog, I can't get out. And then you take like a 4x4 Jeep and you head out there and you attach a winch and then you pull the vehicle out. That's Mudrunner and SnowRunner. That's what those games are, right? This game is you're sitting on the side of the road because there's construction and they're building a bridge, or they're laying down like sand to like have a bunch of vehicles basically drive across because the area's been destroyed by the weather.
Yeah,
That's what roadcraft is. Roadcraft is you like the beginning level is there's a storm about to hit. You need to basically deliver and produce as much protection to these areas as you can from this storm. And then the second level is after the storms come and some roads that were traversable are now just covered in water, or some areas of cement have been destroyed by machinery that's tipped over and blah blah blah, and you have to basically reconstruct and protect this community from further damage. So the power is out, so you have to then reroute power from one plant to the next, but you also have to create pathways for these trucks to deliver the materials needed to do that shit.
yeah, yeah,
And in single player, this game's fine. The problem is if you need to like do a road, you have to then take a sand truck and then head out and then dump the sand and then switch to another vehicle, the dover or the dozer, and then basically flatten the land.
hmm
And then if you want to make it an asphalt, you have to go get the asphalt thing and then lay that down. So you have one person doing all these different things, and sometimes you need to keep swapping back and forth between them to do different things. So playing in multiplayer, you can have one person basically sand the whole thing down while you're getting all the vehicles you need delivered to those locations.
yeah, yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, because I'm going to cover this more probably on the next episode when I've got a little bit more time to kind of talk about it.
Mm.
I played multiplayer with Scott from the Outer Haven.
Yes.
Focus Entertainment gave us 4 codes. PC crossplay wasn't working, so I wasn't able to play with Kelvin.
I am
And I
going
got you
to
a code
play.
as well.
I am going to play. I just haven't had time yet. I'm going to make sure that I
Yeah,
install it, and we'll make sure we both play before the next episode that we do for sure.
yeah. And we were playing multiplayer last night, and the last thing we did was build this bridge. And so basically, what we had to do is we had to take a bunch of like stone chunks and then take them to the stone factory, and then basically manufacture these big slabs because we were going to build a bridge. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? To save time, let's just put all the slats in the truck. And there was 8 of them,
Yeah.
and they're like, like probably like this thick, right? And so I toss them in the vehicle, and they start sliding around and stuff like that, and it looks like basically like a bunch of piles of waffles, just kind of all over the place. And we strapped him to the vehicle, and I'm like, hey, do you want me to drive this instead? He's like, yeah, yeah, I want you to try and drive this. And you just see the vehicle like, oh, oh, is it, oh, oh. And so like this one side, I'm like, hey, just drive alongside me so that if I tip, I'll hit you and I'll right myself up. And so we're basically like 2 vehicles like driving, and I make the comment, I'm like, this is the equivalent of like 2 guys drunk trying to get home. And it was so funny because like yeah, like we were going like, oh god, it's just right there, I can see it, buddy. Like we were getting there, and we eventually built the bridge and it was fine. But the multiplayer in that game really makes it because you feel like a construction team.
Yeah.
Like you feel
And
like,
you can
oh, because
actually work
one person
together.
could, yeah, or you can do independent jobs. Like if you join, you could basically repair all of the pipes around the one area while we're building a road to go somewhere else to another area. So you
Nice.
feel like this little
Nice.
construction unit. But yeah, like it is. If you like SnowRunner, if you like Mud Runner, and you're like, I want more of that experience,
Hmm.
that's here. It still has the stuff where you're measuring the water levels. You're still like using the winch to get out. I do wish there were more winch points around certain areas, but you get to build bridges, you get to build roads, and it is neat. Like there's
Yeah.
one level where you're basically using a harvester to like cut down trees, and then you're delivering the lumber to then
Nice.
build the things that you need to get other things. It's great. It
Good.
is. It's so fun. The music's really cozy. The story stuff's basic. You have someone on the radio going
Yeah.
like, "Hey,
And also,
we need to
you
do
you
this."
don't play these kinds of games for the story stuff, though. These are basically,
No,
you know, kind of. They're almost kind of like simulation strategy
yeah.
management
But the nice
type
thing
of
about it is
games.
this game knows it's a video game because there's a part where you're taking the crane to build a protection wall across this one factory.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just basically drag the piece, and then once it hits green on it, you can drop it and it slats into place. So it
Nice.
knows when to be a video game and it
Yeah.
knows when to give you that realism. Because there's parts where, like, you make these paths and the
Yes.
AI is so dumb that sometimes they'll and then fall off a ravine and then you have to redo the path.
I mean
So,
that's
like,
I mean that's hilarious to be fair.
oh, there's times where I'm looking at like truck. I'm like, don't turn that way, don't turn that way. And I'm like, you're dead. Um, and there's one part where like I was delivering this one crane, and it was on the platform, and like,
Oh
and I'm like,
god.
no, my back tire, I couldn't go. So I'm like dropping this like pipe down the ravine, and then I just recalled the vehicle back to the
Oh my
factory after I
god. Oh
dropped
my
it.
god. But yeah,
And
I'm
this part
definitely
where
gonna
like
have to play it.
we had to go to this mountain, and it was just all bog and mud and water and
Mm.
stuff, and so we rebuilt the road and eventually got up there, and it is if you're sitting on the side of the highway and you see this construction going on and you're like, "Oh, that would make it that would make a good video game. That'd be so boring." No, it's the exact opposite. It is so addicting to play these
Yeah,
games
I bet. Yeah.
because you're like, I just have to like drop sand and then take it over and blah blah blah. And you're like,
Yeah.
that sounds boring. No, it's fucking fun.
Yeah. I definitely wanna play this. So let's make sure that we get to play it, and hopefully we can get our other buddies in co-op with us as well, and have four players, because that sounds like that would be chaotic hilarity, quite
And
frankly.
I think it's coming to Game Pass as well.
Interesting. Okay, that would be interesting if it
Um,
is. If it is, that would be,
see.
maybe it's worth checking out. If you don't, if you do have Game Pass, then
Oh
yeah.
wait, no, I guess not.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a
Maybe
shame.
it's Blades of Fire that was coming to it,
Maybe
but
one day.
yeah, no, Roadcraft. Like if you like SnowRunner, if you like MudRunner, if you like the Expeditions, which I think is the weakest one, this game is so much fun. Like each level will probably take you about like depending if how many people you have. If you have one or two people, it'll probably take you about 6 or 7 hours per level, and each level and there's 8 levels. So there's probably like 80 to 100 hours of actual gameplay here because there's side missions as well.
Wow.
There's tons to explore in areas. Like you're like, oh, I can't get up to this area, but if you start building like a road,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can kind of go everywhere that you want.
Nice.
It's really fucking cool.
Well, we'll definitely play some of it, and we'll make sure we speak about more of it on the next episode. As a quick update before we go, there actually won't be an episode later this week because, unfortunately, I have a funeral to attend on our usual recording day. But we will be back next week, where I believe next week we'll be recording on Wednesday. So in the middle of next week, I'll have something hopefully really cool to talk about that I've been playing that I can't speak about yet. And we'll talk about some Roadcraft as well. And I'm sure that Jeff will have like 5 other reviews out by that time. So,
Oh God, yeah, I'm looking at it right now because like there's Yasha, which is already out. I got code for that, so I'm gonna be trying that out. I'm hopefully trying to get a review going for Savage Planet.
nice.
And there's another one that I don't know if I can talk about. Um,
Interesting. Okay. So we've both got things that we
Maybe it's
can't
out.
talk
Let
about.
me see.
We've both got things that we maybe cannot talk about. But there's always stuff going on at Analog Stick Gaming, of course, and at the Analog Stick Gaming YouTube channel where you're watching us right now. So please make sure you subscribe because I'll
Oh
probably
yeah, the
do
game's
some
not
more.
out yet. I can talk about it yet.
Nice. I'll probably do some more streaming soon. I don't know what I'm going to stream. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll do something. And Jeff will have lots of reviews coming your way fairly
Yeah,
soon.
Roadcraft review is going to be out today. The embargo for the reviews dropped about an hour and a half ago, so I'm still working on that because I
Yes.
wanted to get some multiplayer perspective
And
into it.
then
So that'll
and
be
then
going up.
the other quick update to give is I am still going to be reviewing the Oblivion remaster on Analog Stick Gaming. However, I've currently paused that for a couple of reasons. One, apparently there's a significant issue with the PlayStation 5 version of the game, and I got given a PlayStation 5 code, so I want to make sure that I'm using that to actually do the review with, even though the game is on Game Pass. So I'm gonna kind of hold that one off for now for a little bit. And then the other thing is, I will be reviewing WWE 2K25 because I did pick that up. But right
Yeah,
now,
they just released that DLC pack because I think it's got Julia.
yes, yeah,
Like,
yeah, the
I
DLC,
would love to play
they,
WWE 2K25.
the DLC is good. The game is. What I'll say is, if you like WWE games, this is a good one. I think there's certain things about it that people won't enjoy, but on the
I still
whole,
think the characters look too video gamey.
that's fair.
Like,
That's
I don't
fair.
know. I think at this point we need like a photorealistic
Yeah,
WWE game.
yeah, that would be interesting to see for sure. That would be interesting to see. But yeah, so I will be reviewing that at some point as well. Unfortunately, at the moment, once I can talk about what I've been playing, you'll understand why this thing has to take priority. Um, so unfortunately things have kind of been rejigged a little bit, but yes, I will eventually have a WWE review coming. I will have an Oblivion remaster review coming, and I'm going to do the Towerborn early access review as well.
Yeah, that game's been great.
Yes, yeah, and they're still constantly updating it and listening to feedback. So if you've tried it out on Xbox, on Game Pass, or on PC, because it should be released on Game Pass on PC now as well, go and give it a try, see what you think, leave some feedback, because they are actually listening to feedback. So I think it's important to do that. But for now, from us at Analog Stick Gaming and the Gaming Mix podcast, it is a goodbye, and we will see you next time.